Here are a couple of human themes that I either saw or heard about yesterday. One is mimicry. People unintentionally copy what they see. I've been aware of this tendency in children, but now I feel certain that it is pervasive in adults as well, me included. To wit, I did a very man thing yesterday. Perhaps women do this as well, but I haven't had the opportunity to cross-check myself against any women to confirm. But I did run it by two men, and they both verified that they behave in this exact way. We had several days in a row of sun, and I'd been wearing shorts. However, yesterday, the day was rainy and cold. Unfortunately, my belt was already in the shorts. Being a man, I tend to wear the same pants or shorts many days in a row. Apparently, the most important determining factor as to what I will wear on the lower half of my body on a given day is where I left my belt the night before. I had changed into pajamas before bed, and I had folded my shorts and put them away with the belt still in. The next day, as I got ready to leave the house, I automatically put on my shorts because the belt was already there. I looked out through the window in my room and saw the gray and cold day. Instead of changing into long pants, which is what I should have done, I shrugged my shoulders and thought to myself, what are you going to do? The belt is already in. I put on the rest of my clothes and came down the stairs into my living room. Immediately upon seeing me, my youngest son, a 5-year-old, shouted, "I want to wear shorts too." His mother and I tried to talk him out of it, but he had a very strong point in his favor, which he refused to cede. "If Poppy is wearing shorts, why can't I?" he cried. In the end, I went back and changed, because my wife didn't want the little one wearing shorts in the cold. As I left the house, I thought to myself how peculiar it is that kids are such copycats. My first stop was at our chocolate kitchen. When I arrived, I urgently needed to use the restroom, so I walked straight through the kitchen to the back corner wall where we have a door. That took me out into the hallway where the building has a shared bathroom. After handling necessities, I went to the sink to wash my hands, and I found myself standing next to a very well put together gentleman, strong in the chest and shoulders, wearing a navy blue suit with a square jaw and a thick head of wiry black hair. "Good day," I said, turning sideways to look at him. "Good day," he said, not turning, but rather continuing to look at himself in the mirror. After washing, he dried his hands with a paper towel. When his hands were good and dry, he crumpled up the paper towel that he'd used and threw it in the trash can. Then he grabbed another handful of paper towels and wiped clean all of the droplets that had sprinkled onto the counter while he was washing his hands. He also cleaned up a puddle of soap that had accumulated underneath an automatic soap dispenser. He left his area dry and looking as if it had been polished. "Well, how do you like that?" I thought to myself. I nodded to him as he walked by me on his way out of the restroom, and he nodded back with a proud little subdued smile on his face. When I finished washing my hands, I wiped up my area too, just the same as he had. It was as if I were a little 5-year-old boy just then, shouting at my parents, "I want to wipe down a counter too." On the street, I saw a crowd of people standing on a corner, waiting for a light. No cars were coming, and the crosswalk signal was taking an irrationally long time to change. Finally, one brave member of the crowd ventured forth into the street. Signal be damned. This emboldened the rest of the gathering, and they followed along behind him. We're all mimics. Every last one of us. This is a good thing to know. It means that you will influence people either positively or negatively, depending on how you behave while in their presence. The fellow in the bathroom didn't stick around to see me following in his footsteps. However, his unawareness of his influence didn't lessen the impact. Just because you don't see your influence doesn't mean that it doesn't exist. This is a powerful idea for anybody who is wondering what they can do to make the world a better place. Setting a good example spreads more goodness than you might think. I won't have enough space to develop the next theme as completely as I'd like to, but I don't want to wrap up without touching on it. I heard 3 stories of estrangement yesterday. All were about teenagers who aren't getting along with their parents. 2 moved out. The third refuses outright to speak with his parents, even though he continues to live in the same house with them. Each of the 2 who moved out went to live with their aunts and their uncles. One expellee was a young woman. The other was a young man. All three cases came about because the parents insisted on taking a zero-tolerance stance against what they considered to be unacceptable behavior. I sympathize with that. The problem with it, though, is that it doesn't produce desirable results. The only rift of the three that has shown any improvement is the case of the young man who moved out. His parents agreed to stop being so hard on their boy, and the boy agreed that he'd try to do better with following house rules. Things are not perfect, but his parents seemed so relieved and happy to have their son back home. They now plan to take things one step at a time. The other two cases are deadlocked and stalemated, and the parents are devastated and miserable. I am keeping this in my memory bank so that if I run into similar conflicts with my kids in the future, I will remember to tone down my sternness so that I don't chase my children out of the house. I believe that avoiding a hard-nosed approach or issuing ultimatums will produce a more satisfactory outcome in cases of estrangement. Mimicry and estrangement are very common human themes. Knowing how to handle and harness them is a good thing. Thank you so much for your time today.